Hello everyone and welcome to Overanalyzing Star Wars. In this series, I will go through the Star Wars movies and overanalyze them. I'm a big Star Wars fan. I've seen the movies dozens of times, and I've watched all the shows too, even the bad ones. If you're not familiar with who I am, most people know me as the Gold Man. I have another YouTube channel by the same name where I make video essays on a bunch of different topics, but most of them have been Star Wars. One of my videos even crossed 1 million views. That's wild! So this series on this new channel is kinda my way to talk about Star Wars without my professor hat on. While watching the movies, if there's something I love, I'll point it out. If there's something I think is dumb, I will also point it out. Honestly, if there is just something that comes to my mind of any kind while watching the movies, I'm going to point it out. Since so many new movies and shows have come out in the past 10 years, it's interesting to look back on the franchise and see what has changed and how perspectives have changed. Now, I'm not going to make one video for each movie. That would take me a lot of time. So each movie is going to be split into 5 parts, with each part covering about 25 to 30 minutes of the movie. My initial goal is to cover all of the 9 main films, starting with the originals, then the prequels, then the sequels. Let's see if I get there before I promise to continue on after that. So hello everybody and welcome to this new series. My name is the Goldman and today we will begin with Star Wars: A New Hope. What a brilliant opening shot. I'm jealous of the people who got to see this on the big screen for the first time in 1977. I don't remember the first time I saw this movie. I watched it when I was so young that it kinda just always existed to me, so I'll never know the feeling of watching Star Wars for the first time. It's a shame. Onto something completely different. Have we ever seen these moons in a separate shot before? We visited Tatooine so many times, but I can't remember a single other time looking at the moons of Tatooine other than this specific shot. I know The Mandalorian recreates this shot in Chapter 5, but I'm talking about anything besides this shot.
Did you hear that? They shut down the main reactor. Will be destroyed for sure.
So the first lines of dialogue ever heard in a Star Wars movie are, "Did you hear that?" And this was said by C-3PO. In The Rise of Skywalker, C-3PO's last line in the movie is, "Did you hear that?" I know that kind of stuff from J.J. Abrams bothers people, but I found it kinda neat.
We're doomed. There'll be no escape for the princess this time.
No escape for the princess this time? What other times has she had to escape? I want to hear those stories. But is C-3PO talking about the Battle of Scarif since she escaped there? It's certainly possible. I have more to say about Rogue One in a second. I wonder what was going through everyone's heads when C-3PO and R2 just walked right by. Are the stormtroopers thinking, "Ah shit, don't shoot those droids, they look innocent"? Are the rebels saying that too? Also, what the hell was going through 3PO's mind here? We get to know C-3PO as a bit of a bumbling coward, so it's kinda goofy seeing him so casually walk right into the middle of a gunfight. Perfect shot, so iconic. Nothing else to say, no deep analysis here, just that it's perfect.
R2-D2, where are you?
In the background here, you can see this guy flail like he just got shot, but you don't actually see any blaster shot hit him. I guess you could say he got shot off screen. Either way, it looks pretty goofy.
Where have you been? They're heading in this direction. What are we going to do? We'll be sent to the spice mines of Kessel or smashed into who knows what.
Would the Empire really send 3PO and R2 to the spice mines of Kessel? 10 years ago during Solo, there was a droid riot on Kessel. I wouldn't want to send my droids there.
The Death Star plans are not in the main computer.
Where are those transmissions?
Did you know that this is the same guy that handed Leia the plans at the end of Rogue One? Same outfit and all. I love that continuity from Rogue One. I just need to show you guys this video.
Start tearing this ship apart piece by piece until you find those tapes. Find the passengers of this vessel. I want them alive!
So the body actor of Darth Vader was David Prowse, a Scottish guy. So when filming, they actually had him read all the lines, and it sounds hilarious. I love that.
There goes another one.
Hold your fire. There's no life forms. It must have short-circuited.
Man, I wonder what happened to this guy after they found out the plans to the Death Star were hidden on the escape pod. Was he fired? Did Vader kill him? Because the rebels likely lose the war if this doofus just shoots the escape pod anyway.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm a member of the Imperial Senate on a diplomatic mission to Alderaan.
You are part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. Take it away!
Watching this scene with Rogue One in the back of your mind is hilarious. I'm on a diplomatic mission to Alderaan. If I was Vader, I would be like, bitch, do you think I'm stupid? I just saw your ship leave the battle, and I physically saw some dude handing the plans through the door right before I killed him. Leia would then be like, That does raise an interesting question. What was the original way the rebels sent Leia the plans? Did the rebels just beam a message like an email? Was Leia's ship always at the place the rebel plans were stolen? Also, what led to Leia going to Tatooine? I know in Rogue One, Mon Mothma asks Bail about the Jedi, so Bail definitely told Leia about Obi-Wan, but Leia already knew Obi-Wan because of the Obi-Wan show. So did Bail tell Leia that in an emergency, just jump straight to Tatooine and there you'll find that guy who saved your life a decade ago? What did the Empire think of this? Was Vader questioning at all why the rebel plans were above Tatooine of all places? Or did he just think Leia's ship took a random jump? I have a lot of questions that will never be answered, but that's okay. I like my mystery in Star Wars.
Holding her is dangerous. Word of this gets out, it could generate sympathy for the rebellion in the Senate.
This is something I don't think has ever been explored before in Star Wars. Did the Senate have any sympathy for the rebellion? We've seen Senate meetings after Revenge of the Sith and Andor and The Bad Batch, but none of those meetings were that close to the original trilogy. I feel like if there was any open sympathy in the Senate for the rebellion, Palpatine would just have those senators killed. Regardless of that, I do like these little lines of dialogue. It shows there is more going on in the Star Wars universe other than rebels rebelling. Subtle lines like that do a lot more for the world building than you may realize.
There'll be no one to stop us this time.
I love this line from Vader. There will be no one to stop us this time. Come on, Vader. You grew up on Tatooine. You know there's plenty of scum and villainy that could stop you this time. Fun fact, this skeleton we see in the background is that of the Krayt Dragon. The Krayt Dragon is the giant monster that Mando fought in Season 2 of The Mandalorian. I also love C-3PO's insults to R2 in this movie. Here he just called him a twerp, and before he called him a nearsighted scrap pile. As the series progresses, his insults never get as clever as these.
Wait, what's that? A transport. I'm saved. Over here!
Considering we later know how big the Sandcrawler is, C-3PO has to be like over a mile away from that thing. There is no way the Jawas on the Sandcrawler could hear C-3PO yelling. Frankly, C-3PO should be thanking the gods that they just happened to drive in that direction. You know, I really love the silence of this scene. This is the first time in Star Wars that we see an alien race. I love the mysterious nature of this scene where the audience questions what is after R2. It's a slow way to expand the universe that this galaxy isn't just people and robots, but aliens too. I need to question the speed of the Jawa's Sandcrawler. So earlier it was established that R2 and 3PO went in totally opposite directions. Then after some time has passed, 3PO can see the Sandcrawler over a mile away. So the Sandcrawler must have gone that entire mile, picked up 3PO, and then decided to make a complete 180 and go in the opposite direction to get R2. I'm assuming this all happens in one day because it's daytime at first and then dusk when R2 gets taken to the Sandcrawler. I guess that's possible, but in The Mandalorian, we see that the Sandcrawler doesn't move that fast. Mando is able to sprint and catch up with the crawler just by running. So either like 14 hours passed, or R2 and 3PO didn't go as far as we thought. But either way, I love this shot. Hey look, it's Wall-E. You know, the robot from the actual best movie ever made. Yes, I believe that. I just love all the different droids in the scene. Kinda like all the aliens we see later on. All these different droids add layers to the world building. Also, how dirty and grimy they are is something that I love about the original trilogy. The world felt real and lived in. I'm sure at the time, science fiction never felt like this. I am watching the special edition of this movie, as you can tell by this shot here. I'm not the biggest special edition hater, but man, some of these shots here look terrible. Some of the dewbacks, and yes, these things are called dewbacks, just look awful. You ever wonder what the hell some of these droids are even used for? After some Wikipedia search, a gonk droid is basically a walking battery. Kinda neat, but like what the hell is this droid used for? Is it supposed to fix stuff? What about this giant black hemisphere looking droid? I bet I could look it up on Wikipedia, but I have no clue what these things are called. And even if I did know what they were used for, I bet some random nerd who got to write the Star Wars encyclopedia gave these droids a specific purpose. Lucas doesn't give a shit. I bet he was just like, oh, let's have all these different looking droids. I don't care if they make sense or not. That's what I love about Lucas. Certain things he cares about a lot, but others he doesn't give a shit about. I also wonder what's going through R2's mind here. He's probably like, wait a minute, this is the home of my old master's family. What the fuck am I doing here?
I suppose you're programmed for etiquette and protocol.
Protocol? Why, it's my primary function, sir.
It's been said 1,000 times, but I'm gonna say it again. Uncle Owen not recognizing 3PO is a major plot hole. 3PO likely worked on the Lars homestead for around 5 years. Owen must have dementia if he were to forget. There are some plot holes the prequels caused that were quite minor, but this is a big one. I wonder if this crossed Lucas's mind at all.
Evaporators? Sir, my first job was programming binary load lifters.
Just in case you were dying to know what a binary load lifter is, you can look it up and there's a whole Wikipedia page. I'm telling you, anything in these Star Wars movies is explained on Wikipedia. Literally anything.
Take these two over to the garage, will you? I want them cleaned up for dinner.
But I was going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
Fun fact, there are a lot of deleted scenes from this movie, and a few of them actually have to do with Luke going to Toshi Station. And these aren't just quick moments, there were actually whole scenes that were cut from the movie. It's a pretty interesting watch. I wanted to bring up this book I read many years ago where they tell a bunch of short stories that take place during A New Hope. One of these short stories is actually from the perspective of this R5 droid. Apparently R2 asked this droid to sabotage itself so he can get picked up instead. Obviously, this was not Lucas's intention when he wrote the scene, but the book did add a lot of layers to the film, even if it was written 40 years after the original film released.
Thank the maker. This oil bath is going to feel so good.
This was a really weird cut to the scene. Instead of just cutting from one scene to the next, the transition fades to black for a second or two and then goes to the new scene. Star Wars is known for its fancy transitions, but I don't think a transition like this ever happens again in the rest of Star Wars. Usually these types of transitions happen in TV shows so there can be an ad break, but in a movie? If this happened any other time in Star Wars, please let me know. Also in the very next shot, we can see Luke playing with this Skyhopper toy. This is the same toy that Obi-Wan gave to Luke in the Obi-Wan show. I wonder if Luke knows that this came from Obi-Wan. Also in the background, you can see Luke Skyhopper.
And I am C-3PO, human-cyborg relations. And this is my counterpart, R2-D2.
Hello.
I love this hello from Luke. It's kind of condescending in a way, like it's silly for a droid to have a name, but considering the journey these two go on, I really like how it started. Am I the only one who can never ignore the clear change in the audio quality from Luke's dialogue? Take a listen.
Hear a lot of carbon scoring here. Looks like you boys have seen a lot of action.
You know of the rebellion against the Empire?
This happens a few times in this movie, and I can never get it out of my head.
Have you been in many battles?
Several, I think.
Several, you think? Dude, you were just at Scarif. Or did you just have no clue what was going on outside the ship when you were there?
Were you on a Star Cruiser?
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
If you pay attention closely, the audio of Leia's line here is out of place at first. Later on, when we get the full message, you can see Leia says, "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope," and then she bends over to turn off the recording, I assume. However, the first time we hear the line, it happens while she bends over. Before we move on to the next point or whatever, I did want to take a second to say I really love this scene. What makes Luke such a relatable protagonist is not him blowing up Death Stars. It's the little moments where he shares his frustrations or admires a cute girl or wants more with his life. Some see it as Luke whining, but I see it as character development.
Wait a minute, where'd she go? Bring her back. Play back the entire message.
What message? The one you've just been playing. The one you're carrying inside your rusty innards.
This made me wonder, at what point does R2 realize Luke is Anakin's son? The first time the name Skywalker is mentioned in the film is on the Death Star when Luke tells Leia, "I'm Luke Skywalker, I'm here to rescue you." So you could argue that R2 just thinks this is some random kid that lives with Anakin's stepfamily. But R2 was there when Padme gave birth to Luke and Leia. So I'm assuming R2 heard that Anakin's kids were named Luke and Leia. When we see Luke here, he must know that's Anakin's son. Now that I think about it, does he know that Leia is Anakin's daughter? I'm assuming assuming R2 knows Anakin had a daughter named Leia, but was he aware that the Organas were the ones to adopt her? I'm assuming yes, because I think in the 3rd episode of Star Wars Rebels, R2 is with Bail, so I'm assuming he's met his daughter Leia a few times. So does that mean he's aware that he's projecting a hologram of Anakin's daughter to his son? I'll let you guys decide. Also, 3PO hitting R2 was hilarious. This is the exact same voice line that was played when we first met Luke.
I stumbled across a recording while I was cleaning him. He says he belongs to someone called Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I love this subtle look that Beru and Owen give each other. It's a hint that there's not only something important about that name, but something they don't like. I wonder when Lucas first wrote this script why he decided to make Owen and Beru not like Obi-Wan. Is Obi-Wan supposed to represent adventure while Owen represents staying put? I'd love to pick Lucas's mind on that.
He died about the same time as your father.
You knew my father?
I told you to forget it.
What Owen does here is terrible parenting in my opinion. The vibe I get from this scene is that Luke knows nothing about his father other than that he's supposedly dead. It's only natural for a kid to have questions about his parents. Luke does mention later in the movie that his father was a navigator on a spice freighter, which is a complete lie. I'm curious what else Luke knew about his father. Now, even with the prequels, it's not exactly clear what Owen even knew about Anakin. He must have known Anakin was a Jedi, but he probably knew nothing about Vader. Regardless, it still makes sense why Owen wouldn't want to tell Luke anything about his dad. Anakin was a Jedi and was exterminated. Owen probably doesn't want Luke to go down that same path. So while I do think it's bad parenting to not give Luke any answers, I do understand where he's coming from.
You can go to the academy next year. You must understand I need you here, Luke.
But it's a whole nother year.
Look, it's only one more season.
Yeah, that's what she said when Biggs and Tank left.
Where are you going?
Looks like I'm going nowhere. I have to go finish cleaning those droids.
This scene was written brilliantly. We get Luke's frustrations here. As a child, nothing was more frustrating than being promised something and then being told you need to wait longer. Lucas wants the audience to empathize with Luke feeling stuck in life, and this exchange conveys that beautifully. This is Star Wars to me. When you tell me what's the first thing that comes to your mind when someone says Star Wars, it's not lightsabers or spaceships or Death Stars or the Force. It's this shot right here. Star Wars is a coming-of-age story. It's about adventure and the lessons you learn on that adventure. There's so much symbolism behind this one shot, and I could talk about it for another half hour. But I just love how a shot of two suns next to each other in the sky, something human beings have never seen before, is the most relatable image in the entire movie. And that's it for my first episode in my new series. Click on the link here to watch Overanalyzing Star Wars A New Hope Part 2. If you don't see the link, the video hasn't come out yet. Thank you everyone so much for watching another one of my videos. Don't forget to tonight the Claude Squad, and I will see you guys next time.